Welcome to today's deep dive. Walking into a modern office sometimes feels less like going to work and more like, I don't know, navigating a tightrope while blindfolded.
Oh, absolutely. It's a complete minefield out there.
Right. Because, you genuinely want to be a good colleague. You want to do your job well.
hmm
But it feels like one slightly miscalculated interaction, and suddenly you've tumbled headfirst into this massive, highly nuanced debate about gender politics.
Yeah, it is a very precarious environment right now. I mean, we are carrying generations of historical, sociological baggage into spaces that are, actively trying to operate as modern egalitarian arenas.
And the friction between those two realities is just constant.
Exactly. It's constant, and it usually surfaces in, the most mundane moments possible.
So true. Okay, I want you to picture this. You're standing by the office water cooler, just trying to get your morning hydration, and right there, a female colleague is visibly struggling to lift one of those super heavy, unwieldy 5-gallon water jugs.
Yes, the classic water cooler dilemma.
Right. And you have this split-second decision to make. Do you rush over, channel your inner superhero, and lift that jug for her? Or do you, stand there, take a slow sip of your coffee, and remind yourself that in the era of absolute workplace equality, physical labor is a completely gender-neutral sport?
That is such a perfect example. That split-second paralysis you feel perfectly encapsulates the tension. Your brain is essentially running two completely incompatible operating systems at the exact same time.
Like a bad computer glitch.
Basically, yeah. The old programming, the scripts handed down through centuries of societal conditioning, it screams at you to be the protector.
Right, go help.
Exactly. But the newer programming tells you that treating a female colleague differently, based on perceived physical fragility, is actually patronizing. You freeze because any action you take feels like it violates one of those core social codes.
This water cooler standoff is actually the perfect entry point into, I'd say, two polarized camps that seem to really divide the modern office right now.
Oh, for sure. The ideological split is very real.
Yeah, so on one side we have what we can call team chivalry. And they advocate for a really traditional approach, opening doors, carrying heavy packages, or maybe tempering your language around female colleagues. They view all of that as just basic human decency.
And they argue that this kind of, let's call it micro-gentlemanliness, creates a warmer, more respectful workplace. It feels familiar, it feels safe, and the stated intention is entirely positive.
It is positive. And I actually struggle with the backlash to this. If I see someone walking up to a door with their hands full, I hold the door.
Sure.
If someone's struggling with a heavy box, I offer to carry it.
Sure, that's just being polite.
Right. Isn't holding a door or offering a hand just being a decent human being?
Right.
Why does team equality view this as such a massive structural problem?
That's the core question, isn't it? Well, because the critique from team equality is not about universal helpfulness. It's about the targeted, selective application of that helpfulness.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they argue that these well-intentioned treats are actually a sociological phenomenon called benevolent sexism in disguise. Universal helpfulness means you hold the door for the person behind you, regardless of who they are.
Period. Just holding the door.
Right. Benevolent sexism is when you sprint across the lobby to hold the door specifically because a woman is approaching, or you automatically take over the heavy lifting without even asking.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
When the assistance is triggered by the recipient's gender rather than their actual need, it carries an implicit message about capability.
The implication being that she inherently requires assistance to navigate the physical realities of the world.
Fundamentally, yes. It's a bias wrapped in this shiny, polite bow. It feels nice in the moment to both the giver and the receiver.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's precisely what makes it so insidious.
Because you don't even realize you're doing it.
Exactly. Historically, chivalry was a code designed to govern knights. But its application toward women was heavily rooted in paternalism, this idea that women were, delicate property requiring defense and shelter from the harsh world.
Right, the damsel in distress trope.
Exactly. And when we import that protective instinct into a modern corporate environment, we are basically importing the paternalism right along with it.
That really reframes the hesitation we all feel. Think about your own office. Have you ever found yourself walking with a female colleague? You reach the door, and suddenly you're doing this rapid-fire mental calculus.
Oh, we all do.
Right. If you hold it open and usher her through, are you being polite, or are you acting out a centuries-old paternalistic script? If you just walk through and let it close, are you striking a blow for equality, or are you literally just being rude?
It's exhausting to think about. But the assumption that someone needs physical help at the water cooler, well, it doesn't just stay in the break room.
No, it definitely doesn't.
That same protective instinct bleeds right into the boardroom, and it mutates into intellectual protection. The physical examples are simply like the most visible manifestations of a much deeper psychological dynamic.
Which is where the real damage happens, I have it.
Absolutely. I mean, physical dimorphism differences in bodily strength, that is completely irrelevant to managing a spreadsheet or, running a huge marketing campaign.
Totally irrelevant.
Yet, the instinct to shelter female colleagues translates directly into how we handle their intellectual and professional output. If you unconsciously assume someone needs physical shielding, you are highly likely to assume they need psychological shielding as well.
Wow. Think about how this plays out in performance reviews. Our sources highlighted a great example of this.
The feedback cushion.
Yes, the feedback cushion. So, a manager sits down to give feedback to a female direct report who made, let's say, a significant error on a project. Because of that protective instinct, the manager instinctively cushions the tough feedback.
They soften the language.
Exactly. They sandwich the criticism between heavy compliments and basically make the conversation as painless as possible. But later that exact same day, a male colleague who made the exact same mistake walks in and the manager rips him to shreds. They deliver this raw, unvarnished, brutal truth.
And here's the thing. The manager cushioning the feedback absolutely believes they're being kind. They think they're being supportive and preserving morale.
They think they're being a good boss.
Right. But we have to look at the compounding psychological mechanism of that interaction over, say, a 10-year career. The male employee receives harsh friction early on.
He takes his lumps.
Yeah, he learns exactly where his blind spots are, he learns how to process professional failure, and he builds incredible resilience. The female employee, on the other hand, is padded in bubble wrap.
Oh man, she leaves the review thinking she's doing fine.
She has no idea. She is completely unaware of critical flaws in her performance.
It really reminds me of putting training wheels on a high-performance sports car.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Like, you bolt training wheels onto a kid's bike to protect them from scraping their knees.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. But if you take a sports car that's built to perform at the highest level and you bolt training wheels onto it, you are fundamentally ruining his handling.
Because it can't corner properly.
Exactly. The driver never learns how the car actually handles friction or sharp turns. So when that driver finally hits a high-speed track like getting a promotion to an executive level with massive responsibilities, they crash.
They crash hard.
And they crash because they were never actually allowed to practice failing safely.
That's exactly it. Shielding someone from raw, unfiltered criticism implies they are too fragile to handle the reality of the business.
Which is deeply insulting when you think about it.
It is. By cushioning the blow for the female employee while giving the male employee the harsh reality, the organization is structurally ensuring she is less prepared for leadership. She's being robbed of the vital, often painful feedback required to fix errors and earn promotions.
So she's just stuck.
Stuck in this terrible limbo. It leaves women constantly wondering if they are genuinely viewed as competent, equal peers, or if they're just being treated like fragile porcelain dolls.
Porcelain dolls is such a haunting concept in a corporate setting.
It really is.
Because nobody puts a porcelain doll in charge of a massive high-stakes merger. You put a porcelain doll on a high shelf to be admired and protected from getting chipped. It's like that protective instinct effectively builds a glass ceiling out of pure politeness.
It really does. It stunts professional growth in ways that are nearly impossible for HR departments to measure, but the compounding deficit of knowledge and resilience is profound.
I want to talk about another scenario where this intellectual protection plays out, because I will admit I have struggled with this personally.
Well, let's hear it.
So you're in a brainstorming meeting. The adrenaline is high, ideas are just flying everywhere. A guy is dominating the conversation, maybe speaking over people, and the room just kind of lets it happen. Or, people jump in and interrupt him right back. They fight fire with fire.
That standard aggressive debate style.
Right. But then a woman starts speaking, and I have caught myself consciously biting my tongue, stopping myself from interrupting her, even if I have a really crucial counterpoint, because I don't want to be that guy who talks over women in meetings.
Which is a very common fear.
Yeah, but reading this material, I'm thinking, am I being respectful, or am I actually just being condescending?
Well, according to the research, that restraint assumes she cannot handle the rough and tumble friction of a passionate debate.
Oh, yeah.
It exposes this deeply hypocritical dance in the modern office. I mean, Men are terrified of looking sexist on one hand or heartless on the other, so they drastically overcorrect.
They swing the pendulum too far.
Exactly. They treat male colleagues with this aggressive egalitarian friction where ideas are battle-tested in real time, but they treat female colleagues with kid gloves. They artificially slow down the rhythm of collaboration the second a woman takes the floor.
So by tiptoeing around the room, you were essentially isolating her from the actual creative process.
You are. You completely blur the boundary between true respect and condescending bias. If you only respect someone enough to engage with them politely, but not enough to debate them passionately or, interrupt them when the idea demands an immediate challenge, you're not treating them as an equal in the intellectual arena.
What are you treating them at?
You're treating them as a guest. And when you treat someone as a guest in their own workplace, you deny them the intimacy of true collaboration, which, let's be honest, inherently requires conflict.
Wow. That distinction between a peer and a guest completely changes the lens on this whole issue. But we're operating in a reality where helping is viewed as benevolent sexism, but not helping feels like being a cold, heartless colleague.
It's a massive cognitive dissonance.
How do we resolve that?
The resolution requires a rather uncomfortable shift in perspective. We basically have to move the focus away from the recipient's gender entirely, and instead put a massive magnifying glass on the helper's own psychology.
This is the ego check.
Yes, it is.
This was the sharpest, probably most uncomfortable realization in this entire deep dive. It forces us to ask an incredibly confronting question. When you offer that special treatment, when you rush to grab the water jug or soften the performance review or bite your tongue in a meeting, are you actually doing it because your colleague genuinely requires your assistance?
Or are you doing it to feed your own ego?
Exactly. Are you intervening simply so you can walk away feeling like the office savior?
The dopamine hit of feeling magnanimous is really powerful. It feels good to be the hero.
It feels great. It feels good to walk back to your desk thinking about what a chivalrous, helpful person you are. But in reality, you're just centering yourself in a narrative that didn't even require your presence.
You're utilizing a female colleague's mundane task as a prop to make yourself feel powerful.
That is brutal. That's so true.
Which is why the old rules of chivalry are fundamentally incompatible with a modern egalitarian workplace. They are inherently designed to elevate the person performing the chivalry, often at the subtle, unacknowledged expense of the person receiving it.
Because the protector dynamic requires a protected class to function.
Precisely. If you need to feel like a savior, you subconsciously require your female colleagues to remain helpless.
If the old rules of chivalry are loaded with bias and designed to feed our egos, what is the new rulebook? We need a framework to show genuine respect without falling into these traps of performative politeness.
True respect is about paying close attention to individual needs without making demographic assumptions.
Okay, break that down for me.
It requires decoupling the need for assistance from the identity of the person standing in front of you. You have to assess the situation based on universal standards of empathy and universal standards of excellence, applied equally across the entire board.
Meaning you analyze the specific context, not the ID card.
Exactly.
If a human being, any human being, is visibly struggling with a physical task, whether it's like a jam printer carrying boxes or wrestling with a water jug, you offer a hand. But you offer it because a colleague is struggling, not because a woman is struggling.
And the standard remains identical for the intellectual side. Provide tough, career-making feedback to everyone, regardless of gender.
Don't hold back.
Right. If someone's work is flawed, the absolute most respectful thing you can do is tell them the unvarnished truth so they can rectify it and grow. Holding back that truth is not a kindness. It is professional sabotage masquerading as manners.
This brings up the most practical, actionable takeaway from our sources today. It's the ultimate litmus test, and it just cuts right through the noise of overthinking.
I love this test. It's so effective.
Next time you find yourself hesitating, maybe you're hovering over your keyboard, overthinking how to phrase an email edit to a female colleague so you don't sound too harsh.
Yeah.
Ask yourself this one simple question. Would I treat a guy exactly the same way in this exact situation?
It forces an immediate confrontation with your own internal double standards.
It really does. If you are about to rewrite an email to soften the tone, ask yourself, if Dave from accounting sent me this exact draft, would I be adding smiley faces and hedging my language with phrases like, just a thought, or maybe we could try?
And if the answer is no, you're playing a game of subtle bias.
Exactly. If you wouldn't sprint across the lobby to help a male colleague lift a box, do not do it for a female colleague.
Because if your behavior dramatically shifts purely based on the gender of the person in front of you, you're no longer operating out of genuine professional respect. You are operating out of outdated sociological conditioning.
To summarize the journey of this deep dive, we started with the evolutionary and societal baggage we carry to the water cooler, navigating that tightrope of modern office etiquette.
Which is exhausting.
Very. We explored how the well-intentioned micro-gentlemanliness of team chivalry acts as this Trojan horse for benevolent sexism, basically sending hidden paternalistic messages about fragility and capability.
And we traced how that physical protection mutates into intellectual protection, where cushioning feedback and tiptoeing around interruptions creates a glass ceiling built out of politeness, artificially turning highly competent peers into fragile porcelain dolls.
And we finally arrived at the really uncomfortable reality that to truly support equality, we must check our office savior egos. We have to abandon the dopamine hit of feeling magnanimous, stop making demographic assumptions, and rigorously apply that ultimate litmus test.
Treating everyone with the exact same level of friction and support in the exact same situation.
It represents a massive cultural shift from performative politeness to genuine equitable respect. It really leaves us asking, are we killing chivalry? Or are we finally getting out of the way and letting true equality do its job?
And, if the ultimate metric of equality is treating everyone exactly the same to avoid subtle bias, we really have to consider how this psychological mechanism applies to other dynamics in the workplace.
Oh, like what?
Well, take age and seniority. Are we guilty of benevolent ageism when we automatically assume an older colleague needs help setting up a Zoom call or sharing their screen?
Oh, wow. You rush in to fix the audio thinking you're being the helpful tech savior.
Yes, but by rushing in to be polite and tech-savvy without even being asked, you are signaling to the entire room that this senior colleague is fundamentally incapable of adapting to modern tools.
You're stripping them of their autonomy.
Exactly. Utilizing the exact same mechanism we discussed with the water cooler scenario, you've just turned them into a technological porcelain doll. It really challenges us to interrogate all the ways our instinctive desire to be helpful might actually be hindering the autonomy of the people around us.
That is a phenomenal layer to consider. The mechanism of bias is identical, just projected onto a totally different demographic. So next time you are in a meeting or at the water cooler or watching someone struggle on a video call, take a hard, honest look at who you are rushing to help. And more importantly, investigate exactly why you feel the need to do it.
Great advice.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take these insights, check that office savior ego at the door, and we will see you next time.